Hi, this is lesson 8 in our series of how to play by ear. Hopefully you tried last week just adding thirds and sixes under your melody notes. Today I'm going to show you how to just do a little bit more than that. We're going to add maybe a middle note and how to recognize a chord. When someone plays a bunch of notes, you'll be able to look at them and just tell what chord it is. And if you have a book that doesn't have chords in it, now you'll be able to write the chords in. So as we go through this lesson, I want you to just watch it a lot of times because you probably won't get it in just one run. So, and just be brave. Put your music away and just see what you have. Everybody has talent to play by ear. So many people have told me over the years that they just don't have an ear, but everybody does. And I'm sure when you go to a concert or when you hear someone play, you can tell if they hit the notes wrong. So all you have to do is just listen and forget your eyes and just use your ears. And you will have a lot of fun. So let's get started. Okay, last lesson we talked about thirds and sixes. This lesson I'm going to show you how to take the 3-note chord and actually figure out what it is. You know, when I was growing up, I didn't know chords. My teacher taught me how to read notes, and it really did handicap me because I couldn't go anywhere without books and music. I'm now at least able to sit and pick things out, and I actually think it's as much fun as reading the notes, but it's also as much work. But over the years, I've learned how to cheat. So watch, and this isn't cheating actually, it's just legitimate. But this little trick is really amazing. Especially, let's say you have a hymnal and you're trying to play and you wish they had chords in it, but you don't know what the chords are. So in my group lessons, I called this Recogno chord, recognize a chord. So if you look at someone's hand and they're playing 3 notes, this is how you can tell what chord it is very quickly. So remember in the last class, I told you that if you have a melody note, there's 3 positions that can usually go under it. Skip 1, skip 1, skip 1, skip 2, skip 1, skip 2, skip 1. So this is a 5th, 1, 3, and 5, okay? And now I have a 6th, a skip 1 and a skip 2, and I still have a 6th, skip 2, skip 1. So the bottom 2 notes stayed the same, the middle note just changed. And sometimes, in some of the ear players I learned at, they just say, put your hand on the crack in the middle and just go like this. And you get some very cool chords, and who cares what they're called. So if you can't decide if it's this note or this note, play them both, and you get a nice, actually you get a nice C6. But see what happens? It just doesn't ever sound bad. So you can just kind of walk around inside of a chord. If you have a 6th, you can even walk around like this. And listen to all the different chords you can get. Alright, so the point of today's lesson is how to recognize what chords you're playing. So look, if I'm playing a C, and I skip 1, skip 1, that's called an even-looking chord, according to an ear player. The name of the chord, if it's every other note like that, is the note that's at the bottom, okay, or to the left. This is an F chord. See how all the notes are equally spaced? F chord. Okay, watch. If I play G, skip 1, skip 1, the name of the chord is at the bottom. It's a C chord. If I play an A, skip 1, skip 1. The name of the chord is at the bottom. It's a D something. It's not D major because if you remember, D major had a sharp in it. But that's kind of easy to fix if you're playing, okay? All right, so that's the first position. All right, now, if I take this note and move it down 1, now I have a 6th from the bottom to the top and a note in the middle. Okay, now listen really close. If you're playing a chord that has a 6th interval, and I call it an odd-looking chord, okay? It's not evenly spaced. You have 2 notes up here and one note up there. The note at the top of the biggest space is the name of the chord. Okay, look. This is a little space. This is the big space. So this note is at the top of that space. So this is an A something chord. Okay? Let's try this one. All right, little space, big space. What's the name of that note? It's at the top of the biggest space, so this is an F chord. Now, if somebody tries to catch you, and it doesn't really matter, because you're playing by ear, no one's going to really ask you, but in case they want to know, this is a C chord in the root position, meaning the C is at the name, or at the base, like the root of a tree. If I take this C and put it up here, now, this is C chord in the first inversion, means I flipped it over once. Or if there's a race and I finish on top, I am first. Now, see how I have a sixth interval here? There. Now, if I didn't know what that chord was, I could just look at it and say, oh, that note's at the top of the biggest space. This is a C chord. And because the C is at the top, it is in the first inversion, in case you want to impress someone. Okay? Now, if I take the E off of the bottom of that chord and put it on the top, now I've inverted it again. Now the C is in the middle. If you're in a race and there's 3 of you and you finish in the middle, you are second. So this is a C chord in the second inversion. And you see now there's the 6th there. Put the C in there. Now C is at the top of the biggest space. So if I didn't know that was a C chord, I just look at it and name that note. Okay? And a lot of ear players can't even name the note. They just know that that sounded good because it's a 6th with one of those 2 notes filled in. Or both. See? All right. Now, so if you're following me, I'm just going to play a chord and see if you can recognize what it is. Let's do this one. All right, just look at it for a minute. All right, I have a little space here and a big space there. So I'm going to name that note. This looks like an F chord. It is an F chord in the first inversion, just to throw that in. Okay, how about this one? Little space, big space. Name of the chord? C chord, first inversion. Okay, how about this one? Big space, little space. C chord, second inversion. Now, then you might see a chord that looks like this. All right, so all you got to do is just bring that one back to recognize where the spaces are. This is a D chord, D minor, D major. Okay? And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about minors and majors right now because we talked about that, I think, 2 sessions ago. But you can name the chord. And if you're playing, and you're playing in 6th, and you can't find neither one of these notes work, it's usually because that note needs to get sharped. So just move around in it, and it'll fix itself, especially if you already know the chords because it has to match. Okay? So, let's see what happens now if I'm playing. Alright, now that's a tough one to figure the chords out. It doesn't have just C, F, and G chord in it. So now I got 2 ways that I can try and figure out what that chord is. I'm going to play the C chord first. I know the first note is G. So I'm just going to keep playing that C chord till it sounds crummy, remember. Alright, I'm on an A note. Which one of these chords has an A in it? I'm just going to start up here. I'm going to try F first. That works. And now I'm going to a D note. I could try G, but while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to think about, it could be a D. So let's try it. Let's try G first. It is not G, so it must be D. Now I'm on a B, so I'll go to a G chord. Alright, now I'm on a G chord, and I'm on an E note. I could play a C chord, or I could play an E chord. Let's try C. That sounds okay, but let's try the E. Okay? Now, I'm going to a C. Could go to F, C. Okay, so remember the circle, and after the new year, I'm going to do a new series on my chord book, which will be a really good series for you to follow when I'm done with this one, because then we really get into the circle, how the chords work, and where they go. But just a little quick thing here, watch. That C chord went down to an E. If that happens, it usually has to take the road back. So if you have a circle sitting on your keyboard, or you can, if you go on my website, you can get the DVD that explains the circle, and you get a circle with it. But you take the C, and if the chord goes to an E, chances are the next chord's going to be an A, and the next chord's going to be a D, and the next chord's going to be a G, and you're going to end up back at the tonic or the main chord. All right, so in the key of C, which is all we're doing right now when playing by ear, C will go always, very rarely, no further than F. If you cut the circle in half, these are the chords that you're going to use in the key of C. So if you really study hard, C, F, G, D, A, and E, very rarely will you play a B chord. So just those. And then remember, the A, the D, and the E can also be minor. And we talked about that a few weeks ago. So that gives you just, an idea that you don't have to just spin out on it. You go, oh my gosh, there's so many chords I have to know. Most songs that you play by ear are just have a few chords in them. So if you're playing We Wish, F chord, E, oh D, excuse me, G, E, A minor. See, so I'm just sitting here putzing around, just poking around, and pretty soon I found out, hey, I played a sixth. And it's just fun. All right, so just to end up real quick, some of you have said, I'm bored, my left hand's just playing chop, chop, chop. And 2 weeks ago, I did the class on the clavinova, and I used the background. And a couple of you emailed me and said, well, I don't have a clavinova, but my left hand is sounding kind of boring. So all you have to do is just do something with it. There's one of the very last pages of the book is called Polka Cord. Left hand hint, just don't hold the chord all the time. Poke the chord and the pedal at the same time, the pedal meaning for the organ. If you're on a piano, just poke the chord. And the first beat of each measure, and rest for the next three. Then try the second beat and rest on 3 and 4. So you kind of get, you just kind of get creative. See? So you just mess around and just make your hand a little more active. You can also do this. Just play the bottom note. Okay, you can also play an octave. So if it's a C chord, just play this and play. Then you can do a combination. made 2 mistakes and I didn't stop. So I'm not even going to fix it in this video, because the key is just keep going. And sometimes if you make a mistake, do it again in the next verse and they'll think you did it on purpose. So I don't want you to get serious and just try to be perfect. You're never going to be perfect when you play the piano. Someone's always going to have an opinion about what you're doing. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do with hints. You can wander away from the melody and you can come back. You can change the time values of your notes. You can improvise using the chords that are written in a song and change the melody. We talked about that. And you can repeat a phrase, like if you're going... Well, that one repeated by itself. See, you can play, you can just walk up to the next note, walk down, and pretty soon you start to just get your confidence. And when I was learning to read notes, I was so connected to those notes that it never occurred to me that I had enough creativity in me to make it my own and not just reading the spots on the paper. When you do that, it's like you've been painting by numbers your whole life, and all of a sudden somebody teaches you how to do watercolors. And I think you're going to love doing it, and spend as much time doing this as you did when you learned to read the notes. Okay? So I hope you have a wonderful holiday, and we'll be using some of these hints over the next few months when we continue on after the new year. I hope you enjoyed this series. I enjoyed doing it. My husband was the videographer and the cat is sitting here on the floor, and we intend to continue this. We're getting so many people that have said it's made such a difference for them. And if you're like me, I didn't really get a lot of experience playing the piano and the organ and the keyboard with notes. I mean, with no notes. I always had to have them in front of me, and it was always scary. Either I had to memorize or I didn't play. And memorizing for me did not come easy. So I wish I would have known when I was in college what I know now, because I would have had a lot more fun, number one, and it would have been so much easier to understand classical music and popular music if I had even a basic understanding of how chords worked. So when I started learning chords, and I learned them just like you're going to learn them. I learned them the tough way, but because I had a little piano background, it was easy for me to figure them out. But over the years, I've learned how to make the chords easier and for people and teaching. And I think that I'm good at teaching because it wasn't easy for me either. So what I'd like to do is show you where we're going to go next. After the holidays, we're going to start a series on this book, The First Aid Chord Kit. This is a really good book to follow up with what we've done so far, because until you really have a good understanding of chords and how they work, it's really going to be hard for you to really enjoy playing by ear to the fullest. So we just kind of gave you this little skinny book, Playing Music with No Music, for people who just want to noodle around and play easy. If you want to get more into detail, I wrote this book because I couldn't find any books on chords that just made sense to me. There was a lot of them with pictures in them, so I could play the pictures. But then I found out I was just memorizing the hand positions. I didn't really know what I was doing. So I couldn't improvise. I couldn't add things to my music. I couldn't add harmony. I was just kind of being a robot and playing what the picture said. Plus, if you open a book that has pictures of where the chords are, there's thousands of them. So in this book, once you get through the first half actually, you will know how to play every chord. And we cheated on this session with 43, the number 43, half step, 4 half steps, 3 half steps. But this book gets right down to the nitty gritty, and it goes all the way through 13th chords, suspended chords, and a little bit of playing by ear in the back. And it starts with, I don't know anything about chords. Day 1, this is the first chord you learn. It's written for keyboard, which uses, I recommend a different inversion, and piano. So both are addressed in here. So this book comes with 2 DVDs, and you can find them on our website if you want to get them before our session starts. It would be very helpful if you have the book. You can go to www.sacramentomusicgroup.com or musicinnewcastle.com. And then you can order the book, and we'll get it out to you. We'll probably start around the second week in January with our new series on playing chords. So I wrote the book because when I was teaching, I either had to have my students buy 5 different books to learn all this, or I had to make it up myself. So I decided to put everything I know into one book. Also, if you're going to get a keyboard for Christmas and you're thinking about what should I do, should I get a portable keyboard, a digital piano, should I get a regular piano, an organ? I wrote this book when I was in sales. It says everything you need to know before you start to play the piano. It talks about all the different kinds of keyboards, how to find a teacher, if you have children or grandchildren, how to get them started and what age, and learn how to practice. There's a really good chapter in here on how to practice, how to take care of your piano, and then how to find the right piano course. So we'll talk about all that as we progress now through our series. Then, if you need to know, if you don't know anything about counting, if you don't know about key signatures, all the little details when you look at a piece of music, this book I wrote for the same reason I wrote the other one, the chord book. I couldn't find any series that you didn't have to buy 10 books to get all the information. There is no music in any of these books. There's just information. So it starts out with how you look at how you sit at the keyboard, how you name the lines and spaces, how you count, ledger notes, and there's exercise sheets in here. And also it talks about reading bass clef, and also a little section on playing chords. This also has separate DVDs. I did this class when I was teaching group lessons. So my good friend recorded all of them, and so that comes separately from this book. So you can either get them as a set, or you can buy them separately. The emergency chord book comes automatically with the DVDs. Then I've done 2 other books. So much to learn and not enough years left to learn them. These are all little cheaty things that I've learned over the years that after you've done all of these books, these will help you. It'll also help you if you're already an ear player and you need some new ideas and things that you can use. And it was just kind of an afterthought of putting together some things that I was working on. This book is every workshop I've ever done. This has all kinds of little hints, and we've had a lot of fun over the years just doing workshops and talking about an easy way to add just more interest to our music. So I'm really proud of what I've done. I also have a DVD on the circle, and you get the circle that comes with it. But I would recommend going through that chord book. And the chord book also has the whole back section talks about the circle and where the chords go on the circle. So where do augmented chords go? Where do diminished chords go? And so I'm really proud of this. So starting after the holidays, we will get into hopefully weekly lessons and just help you move on. And as adults and even as children, I love to teach kids, but it's more traditional teaching with children. But as adults, we don't have a lot of time to sit and practice. We just want to have fun and enjoy our experience with music. So I hope you have a great holiday, and thank you for all of the kind words that you've given us. We have really enjoyed doing this and getting the response from all over the world, which is really surprising me. The internet is just amazing. So keep in touch with us, and happy holidays.